Is it canon or not? This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And she's not feeling very well.
Oh, I'm very badly burned.
She's very badly burned. She's a little crispy. She's crispy.
I'm very crispy.
Crispy Sparkles today. But we're going to talk about canon because there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not canon is important in pop culture and whether or not fans can pick and choose the canon they want. And now it seems like creators are weighing in on that as well.
Right.
We have the showrunner of Gargoyles, at least seasons 1 and 2, saying that he does not consider season 3 canon.
A lot of people don't consider season 3 canon.
Right, and he would like to have another chance at a season 3.
But what's interesting is, the reason I pointed this out to you was because, besides the fact of the canon issue, is I've seen a lot of Gargoyle stories lately, and I'm noticing it popping up on different blogs a lot, and I'm wondering, are they trying to gear up and get it out there to try to, because people were asking if they were going to bring another Disney Plus season, and I have to wonder, because there's all this news about Gargoyles that keeps just popping up randomly for no reason, if someone's angling for a season or...
Yeah, we'll talk about that, because... the showrunner of Gargoyles, creator of Gargoyles, Greg Weisman, said that he would prefer to have a continuation of the original series, ignoring season 3 versus a reboot. And it does seem like Disney is angling for a reboot.
Well, Disney's always angling for a reboot. If they can do a live-action remake, a reboot, whatever, that's what they're going to go for. Creatively
bankrupt Disney.
Pretty much.
They don't have it anymore. They used to come up with original stuff. What the hell happened, Disney? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Tony Isabella, the creator of Black Lightning, running into a lot of the same problems where he is very unhappy with DC's treatment of his character. And he actually flipped out on social media and was like, how very dare you? How very dare you, DC? But unfortunately, this is what happens when you work for a studio, when you work for another company, and you don't actually own the characters you create.
Exactly. You sell them off. And you sell them off. Own the characters that you created.
Yes, George Lucas probably has buyer's or seller's remorse.
Seller's remorse, yes.
Disney
probably has buyer's remorse right now, too, but that's another story.
Yeah, well, they had money in the bank and they blew it.
They did it to themselves.
And that's kind of what prompted, I think that's actually what's prompting a lot of these discussions, is that we had, Lucasfilm, we had one of their executives, was it Matt Martin? Story group guy come out and say that it's all made up anyway, just pick your own canon.
Yeah, but the fans have no right. They can't dictate, but pick what you want to believe.
I think the pendulum's swinging. I think we're going to get a lot of older showrunners. We're going to get a lot of people be like, let's just go back to formula. Let's go back to what worked. Let's ignore all the bullshit. And do we have to reboot it? Can't we just give people a proper continuation?
Yeah.
There's a hashtag on Twitter right now. People, because of She-Ra coming out, they're trying to get more interest in them renewing or doing a third season to He-Man 2002. That's not going to happen.
Which was supposed to be the She-Ra when She-Ra was brought into it. Still mad about that they canceled it before that.
Yeah, they had designs and everything.
I was looking forward to it so much, and it was canceled.
Instead, we get Netflix She-Ra, which thank God.
I don't even want to talk about Netflix She-Ra. Just bury that thing in a hole.
So let's talk about Gargoyles first. Gargoyles creator would rather remake season 3 than reboot. If Gargoyles was to make a triumphant return, its creator would prefer to remake season 3 rather than reboot the entire series. Now, season 3 was not popular with a lot of people, and the reason why, and fans can tell, they kicked out most of the creative staff for Gargoyles season 1 and 2, which were excellent, and brought in mostly new people for season 3. Including Greg Weisman. He got booted. So he continued his version of the story in the comics. Which,
I remember when that was out.
Yeah, and I actually haven't read the Slave Labor Graphics comics. I heard they were very good. But he was going, again, back to this is a story he wanted to tell. And it kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones where they just made up the ending. Yeah. Without any input. So now they got to go back and fix it. But so it sounds like he wants to kind of go that route. And they talk about the history of Gargoyles. They talk about the possibility of it getting a reboot. Again, a lot of people have been talking about that. I do think it probably, like you said, it's marketing people at Disney trying to gauge interest.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Or people that were involved in it are going out there and giving a little bit of information, interviews here and there, trying to drop interest so they can go back to Disney and be like, look, there's interest. Can we do this again?
Right.
That it could be that even, too.
Yeah, so... they said about, season 1 and 2 being very popular. Things took a turn in season 3, however, when a change in leadership at the studio led to a dramatic overhaul of the creative team behind the series. It moved to Saturday morning with this last season, with the show concluding February of 97. Weisman appears to be interested in giving that third and final season another shot. In an interview he gave to Polygon, he admitted he wouldn't prefer to reboot the entire series. Instead, he would want to make new episodes and add on to the filmography he's already created. He'd refer to that as a potential season 3, because he's disassociated himself from the actual third season of the series.
How very dare he?
How dare he? It's canon. Disney made it.
Yeah, they said it's canon, so it is.
Even if you weren't involved, they made it without you. He was barely involved in it. If they would do that, that would be that would set a new precedent, wouldn't it? Because it would be like, yeah, you know what? We can just ignore the Star Wars sequel trilogy, pretend it didn't happen, and then go with...
Disney probably won't agree to it.
Right, and go with George Lucas's original outline or whatever, at least give fans something a little...
Well, it probably will not happen.
No.
But here's a quote that they said. They asked about, what was going on. He said, my guess is we'd wind up just doing more of the show, and frankly, my guess is they'd want to reboot it, just as they do with everything else. I mean, they've done DuckTales to great success and great effect, and that's not my first choice. I'm not saying I'd refuse, but I'm really proud of the work we did, and I don't think it needs a reboot. I just think we need to make more. And in a world with a streaming service where you got 65 episodes, I just view it as Gargoyles season 3. But those are never decisions I get to make. Of course not. But then they'd have the whole backlog to add on to it, which makes more sense than rebooting the whole thing from zero.
Yeah, and the thing is, they can do that. They can do that now, because you look at shows like Arrested Development. Even look at where it had years and years between its TV run and its Netflix run, and they just tacked another season on. Or you look at Inuyasha. There's several years between. Was it the 5th and 6th or 6th and 7th? The final act, but they were able. And with animation, the actors aren't getting older. I mean, the voice actors do, but it's their voices, not their faces,
right.
Or you recast or whatever you have to do. But the characters themselves aren't getting older, so you really could just tack another season on.
Right. And your voice, I mean, if you get older, your voices change, but not so much so that in a few years it would be, well, we're talking 16 years now, but in a few years it wouldn't be that much of a difference.
So, I don't know. And they probably are thinking this because, I mean, the thing with DuckTales, which I'll tell you, I actually do like DuckTales. We've watched DuckTales. I think they did a good job, but they also have all of these backdoor pilots for other Disney afternoon shows. Goofy's been in it. We've got some Tailspin elements. We've got Chip and Dale. We've got, so they're sort of building their own Disney afternoon universe thing here. I don't want to see it rebooted. I mean, that's like even Batman the Animated Series. They did that. They actually did that with Batman the Animated Series. They had the initial run, and then they waited 3 or 4 years, and they came back and did some character redesigns or whatever. But they basically just picked up where they left off, and they can do that with a cartoon very easily.
Yeah, there's no reason to reboot it, but they'll find a reason to reboot it. But it sounds like they're angling for something for sure. Whether it be this guy trying to get it picked up again, or Disney trying to gauge interest to reboot it again, there seems like there are definitely a lot of media coverage as of late out of nowhere.
Now, this resonates with a lot of creators now. And this is, we just talked about She-Ra in a previous video. And now I don't think this is quite the case with Gargoyles, but Weisman said he spoke more to his feelings about the third season of the show, defending the people who worked on it without having much background knowledge about it previously. He admitted it was painful for him to watch the last 12 episodes of the show. So basically, these people came in. They didn't have any experience with the show. There were already 50-some episodes in the can.
And instead of watching it, they started making shit up.
Apparently. That's why it came off the rails. I know a lot of animation fans, a lot of Gargoyles fans despise the third season. I gotta tell you, my memories of it are very foggy. It's been at least 15 or 20 years since I've actually sat down and watched Gargoyles.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched it, too.
But I remember it started off pretty damn good. But yeah, I don't even know. Come to think of it, I'm not even sure I watched a whole lot of season 3, but it's been a long time, so might have to go back.
Yeah,
to see how bad it actually is.
I haven't watched it for a long time either.
But then again, DuckTales came off the rails too.
I just remember it was really hard to find some of the toys.
Yeah. So that would be really interesting. I don't see them doing it though. I think they're going to be too much time has passed. But could you imagine if they would go back and do more Batman the Animated Series, or they're doing more Animaniacs. Yeah,
they are.
I mean, there's no real continuity on Animaniacs, but they're doing more Animaniacs, so it is possible. I mean, God, The Simpsons has been on longer than the time between Gargoyles. Well, let's see, Simpsons started before Gargoyles. It's outlived Gargoyles, and they're still making it.
The Simpsons been on longer than some adults have been alive.
Yes. Simpsons had 10 good seasons. Basically, The Simpsons, you want to talk about canon? My canon is 10 seasons of The Simpsons, maybe the movie, and the rest of it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I don't really watch it anymore. I mean, it was really big when it first came out, and I watched it for a while, and then just got tired of it. I mean, gosh, it was so long ago. My dad used to work at, when he worked at the one airline, they used to call him Homer. I don't even know why they called him Homer, but they did. And I was like, and I was, a teenager then, so that's how long ago that was. So they've been on longer than, a lot of adults.
I was in middle school, I think, when it started.
Yeah,
it was a while ago, and I actually remember the shorts from the Tracy Ullman show. I used to watch
I remember the Tracy Ullman show. Yes.
I used to watch Tracy Ullman as a kid just for the Simpsons shorts because I thought they were funny. Yeah,
it was HBO, wasn't it?
It was Fox.
Was it Fox?
I think it was when Fox first started. Yeah, it was on
Tracy Ullman show. Was it on Fox or was it on HBO?
Well, I think she had one on HBO too, but the one I'm talking about was the Fox one, and that's the one that had Married with Children was on.
Yeah.
Tracy Ullman.
I don't remember.
All the early stuff.
I don't remember all that. It's been so many years. I mean, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Married with Children reboot. I think they're talking about it, aren't they? Because Disney owns it.
This picture here, wasn't this what was on the toy boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That I remember.
So, okay, he's not the only one who's not happy with the treatment of characters he created for a corporation. Mm-hmm. Tony Isabella, who created Black Lightning. Black Lightning, of course, is getting more popular now because of the TV show, but he is really not happy with how Black Lightning is being portrayed in the comics currently.
I need to take a moment to interrupt you because it's not going to stop. If you wonder what that weird noise in the background is, that would be Charlie the dog who keeps snoring loudly, and he won't stop doing so. He's actually hiding partly under the bed because he doesn't want to be kicked out, and Daddy yelled at him and told him to stop snoring, and now he's hiding with his butt hanging out because he doesn't want to get kicked out of the bedroom. So I don't have the heart to move him, so he's snoring. I just wanted to clarify if people wonder what that noise is. But continue about Black Lightning.
Black Lightning, where are her organs? Look, that's her abdominal anyway. But yeah, he's not happy because I guess the character. Now, I haven't followed Black Lightning for years. I haven't read any of the new comics. Disclaimer: I am familiar with the character from back in the day, but apparently Black Lightning got divorced. And Tony Isabella is not happy about Black Lightning being portrayed as a divorced man with the possibility of other relationships. Doesn't sit well with him. Well, you know what? Marvel didn't give a shit when they divorced Peter Parker or nullified his marriage to Mary Jane. When I was a kid, I grew up reading Spider-Man. He was always with Mary Jane because I was too young to remember Gwen Stacy. So I just remember him being with Mary Jane. I remember the wedding issue being a huge, huge deal. And then they're just like, yeah, we want to just make him a teenager again for no reason. So we're just going to have the devil come in and make a deal. And
yeah, that's weird. And then he just give up everything just, because he would.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But look, this is what he actually said. This is his tweet. Or on Facebook. He said on Facebook, Tony Isabella, fuck DC Comics and everyone involved in their rancid Batman and the Outsiders book. Anyone who understands Jefferson Pierce knows Lynn is his one true love.
Aw.
Sounds like a toxic fanboy.
I think it sounds like a romantic, but that's just me. Maybe because I'm a girl and I'm just like, ooh, that's sweet.
Well, then he said he's going to take a couple of days off from the internet. He might leave social media. Now, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong here. Tony Isabella was not happy with certain people in the comic book fandom taking pot shots at DC and Marvel and some of their decisions, but now that's his character.
Well, that happens often.
But that's the way it works.
You can't have an opinion unless it matters to me, and then that opinion matters.
But, I mean, here's the problem. The problem is when you work for a corporation and you sell your creations to white slavers, like George Lucas said.
Yeah.
You don't get...
He regretted that later, he said.
Absolutely, he regretted it. You do not get a say in what happens to those characters.
No, unfortunately you don't. Unless they bring you back to save it because they effed it up so bad that they need to bring you back to save it.
And sometimes they do. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they double down. They're like, we know better than you do, even though you created it, you built the show, you built the audience.
No, they'll change it to be that they created it. It's their creation now. Like She-Ra, created by Noel Stevenson, who didn't create She-Ra.
Just pretend that other She-Ra didn't exist. Well, okay, so there was some discussion on Twitter the other day. On Twitter, everybody was talking about the Scoob movie. Mm-hmm. And I personally have a problem with the Scoob movie because they basically fired all the voice actors, but they did it via press release.
Well, today I didn't get a chance to tell you, there was articles about how Matthew Lillard was out there, cheering on the new movie.
Because I think I actually retweeted Mindy Cohn, who is Velma, has been Velma for years, and she was talking to Matt Lillard, talking about how much it sucked to find out that you were basically fired through a press release.
Yeah.
And I was like...
So they pulled it down yesterday?
I believe they pulled it down yesterday. I'll have to go back and see. Oh, no, here it is. Okay, I thought it was Damage Control. But Mindy Cohn, yeah, she was like... And she's a fantastic Velma. And she's like, been here, Matt. It sucks. Matt Lillard found out last year. Crappy way to find out. Thanks, Hollywood. You never cease to amaze me.
Yeah.
But, Mindy Cohn and Matt Lillard and I think it was Greg Delisle was the current voice of Daphne, and they're all out. And now... Frank Welker is still in as Scooby, but he's not playing Fred.
Right, but Fred's okay because Fred's supposed to be an asshole now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so he dodged that bullet. He's not playing asshole Fred. But, I mean, again, this is like, they don't care. They're like, we're going to double down because we own the property, so whatever. But a lot of people hate it, though. But yeah, I don't know what to tell these people. I mean, I guess my thing is like, if you want complete control over the characters, you gotta own them yourself.
You have to keep them yourself. But the problem is, a lot of times, if you want the exposure and you want the wide release, you have to team up with somebody else.
Yeah, so I think if you look at these characters as your children, if you're working for another company, then you basically have to view them as like you're the surrogate or something.
Yeah, it's a property. It's not. You can't be that attached to it.
People wonder why Marvel and DC and even Disney don't come up with the ideas they used to come up with. I think partially it's because creators know that they could be fired off their own thing.
So creators aren't coming up with the ideas that Disney used to take credit for?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, because it used to be back in the day that those creators gave their very best to the Walt Disney Company, And now they're like, well, I'll use Disney, I'll crank out a sequel or work on some show or whatever, but when it comes time for me to actually make something of my own, I'm not letting them own it.
And that's how we got Klaus.
That's
I don't know if that's what happened. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas and American Tail and,
I am very curious to see what John Lasseter is going to come up with over at Skydance. I know it's a very controversial decision, but this is John Lasseter who, regardless of what you think of his personal behavior, is a damn good animator, head of production, story guy. So it'll be interesting to see if Skydance actually does better movies than Disney.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. Well, I don't think it's going to take much anymore.
No. I mean, man, Klaus completely trounced. Completely trounced everything Disney did last year. So I guess we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. And remember to own your babies if you don't want to give them up. All right, guys, we'll talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.